Retrofuture.
Okay, we should be live right now. People might be joining the stream shortly. For the people who are just joining us, be free to ask our guests anything, who I will introduce to you now. These ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Radio Retrofuture. I'm Bonzert, and today I'm here with our guests who are working on a new... Oh, just checking if the audio levels are working. On a new podcast that will be coming out sometime in the future. So, greetings, guests. There are three of you now, so I'm gonna leave the introductions to you right now.
Okay.
So let's go to from my left to your right.
I think that's you, but I'm not sure.
Is that me?
I think so. We'll go with you.
I can write, but I don't know my lefts from rights. My name is Kat Wright. I am one of the writers and creators of Clockwork, the Steamage.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you are. I'm Brandon Waite. I'm also a creator for Clockwork and kind of a script advisor. Kat does most of the writing, and then I just kind of share my ideas with her.
I'm Britt Waite. I am one of the creators of Clockwork, and I mostly do, editing on the scripts. Mm-hmm. I can write, but I'm better at editing and making sure once I get everything set up that it sounds good.
She's also our tech person.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you also have somebody working on the audio in particular?
We do, and I say it that way because we just got a hold of him. We have a friend named Brandon Freeman, who's a local award-winning audio and visual director, and he's going to be helping us with audio direction, and then hopefully in the future doing a live-action version of Clockwork as well.
Okay. Well, we'll talk about that in a moment. But let's just start a little bit with what is it? What is Clockwork going to be about?
Kat's best at
She says she's not, but we think
she's
she
the
is.
best at pitching the script.
Okay. So, Clockwork it's a steampunk western, which has horror elements. Based around Victorian era dime novels and penny dreadfuls. So all the monsters we are very familiar with, Frankenstein, werewolves, vampires, all of those things that we know from the Victorian era. It follows the story of a 16-year-old girl who lives in a city for the outcasts of this apocalyptic world, and her group of misfit friends. I'm not as good at this.
Are you not?
No, I'm not.
So the idea is, in the early 1800s, a mysterious fissure opened up all over the world, and these Lovecraftian monsters spilled out and started destroying society. And so instead of using industrialization to make profit like our world did, this alternate reality is that they used that and steam-powered technology to fight against these monsters. And the monsters have done things like affected people in different ways, scarred them. Some of the people that have been attacked by the monsters have gained abilities, and those people are called Stained. And the Stained are kind of shunned by society, so they live in this underground kind of steampunk city called Blackburn, and that is where the main character Nina Tresner comes from. And Nina is destined to she's sort of the chosen one that's effectively designed to destroy the monsters and wipe them from the face of the earth.
All right. Sounds exciting. So what started the project? Like, was it like you were having dinner and all of a sudden you decided to make an audio drama? What was that process like?
Well, you had this idea for floating around for a specific set of characters. He did for about 10 years, at least, if not more. I think when you were a kid.
So some of the characters, Nina's trained by a legendary warrior who served in the Civil War, and his name is Jason Frost, and he's kind of the Obi-Wan Kenobi mentor character, if you will, of the story. And I came up with that character when I was about 14, before I even knew what steampunk or anything like that was. And all I knew was that he killed monsters, lived sometime in the past, and wore a long black coat and had a cowboy hat. And that's about all I knew. And I struggled for a long time figuring out where that character would fit. And I knew he was a teacher, so he wasn't the main character. But he was probably kind of the root of the rest of it, was figuring out where Jason Frost fit and what universe he was in and so forth. I had many, many different versions of this character, but none of them quite fit. And then Britt and I, we met Kat, and we're polyamorous. So we started dating Kat, and I wrote this idea and I kind of shared it with her. And
she ran with it.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
She based with her our characters, and she basically brainstormed and created the entire world for them to live in, and then all three of us just kind of fed off of each other and built it up even more.
What was that? How did you tell the story better about how it became steampunk specifically? I'm more of a fan of Westerns myself. Steampunk's kind of new for me, but I like Westerns and I like Victorian things. I love, Wild Wild West, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, Penny Dreadful, all these kind of things that kind of exist around that universe. And then I like, Hell on Wheels, Deadwood, any Clint Eastwood or John Wayne movie. I grew up on those. So it was circling around steampunk, but I'm kind of new to that, to it as a concept. Yeah.
So basically what happened, what really made it become steampunk was Brandon was telling me how he wanted to, actually started with him wanting to write a version of Rurouni Kenshin as a Western.
Yeah.
And then it went to, and then it was, I have this character named Jason who I really want to include in something, and I think I really want to write his story. And so we were sitting down one day, and he's like, telling me Jason's story about how he was from from World War II, originally, and there's so many World War II stories out there. How can we make this original? And we bounced around ideas, and finally I was like, what if we do Civil War and do it steampunk? There isn't one thing that's been bugging me for a long time, because I've been a long time fan of everything steampunk, and is that steampunk doesn't really have a home. It's a fashion statement, and it's a lifestyle for a lot of people, but it doesn't have a keystone.
Yeah, keystone. Yeah.
Home. And we figured out that the reason for that is that there isn't a reason for steampunk. We don't have a story that explains how steampunk really came to be, why, the reason behind the clocks and the gears and the steam power and everything that we know and love about steampunk. So that's really one of many goals that we have with Clockwork, is to really give it a home base.
Interesting.
And that's kind of how it turned steampunk. Yeah.
All right. That's interesting. But for the audience who is not aware, could you explain what Ronin Kenshin is? You are referring to the anime, I suppose?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So Rurouni Kenshin is about a Civil War veteran in Japan who was a famed assassin during the Civil War and was legendary for his assassinations. And essentially after the war, he takes up a vow not to kill because he feels so bad about his war crimes, and he basically becomes like a Robin Hood of Japan, where he travels all Japan and tries to help people, and uses a sword that has like a blunt edge on the striking side, and tries to save people instead. And so, probably of all the fictional characters, that Nina's mentor is most based off of that idea of this compassionate guy who used to be pretty scary, now trying to redeem himself for his past crimes. Now, Jason's crimes are, why he's guilty is different than Kenshin, but there's definitely a similarity there. And Kenshin does feel like a Western, even though it's a samurai story. It has a lot of Western elements to it.
Well, when you look at Japanese anime, a lot of them have a lot of Western influences.
Yeah.
Cowboy Bebop being probably the most famous one. Samurai Champloo.
Trigun.
Yeah. Well, the Seven Samurai was inspired by Once Upon a Time in the West, I think.
Magnificent Seven. Yeah.
Yeah. Magnificent Seven. So it's funny how those two ideas keep bouncing around between the two nations in that regard.
Right. And we will, in the future, kind of, because in the steampunk world, we have airships and they can travel all over the place, and that we do address that. And so, in coming episodes, they will be going to different places, including Japan, and we'll see kind of how that influences Clockwork as well, just as much as the West. Like, it kind of all the things that are what the world was in the 1800s definitely influence our characters and the plot in Clockwork.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's one of those unspoken things, but for me, the pop culture references in steampunk are very important. Like superheroes is another theme. Star Wars is often seen in steampunk. Yeah, I see very little conversations happening about steampunk's relationship to mainstream pop culture. So yeah, that's probably something I would want to discuss in the future a lot more. Now talking a lot about steampunk and fantasy, because there's also very interesting, I realized some interesting things about that as well. New video will be up about that very soon. Matter of fact, I've finished it today. But yeah, so let's return to Clockwork. You already talked about how one of your characters is heavily influenced by Ronin Kenshin. Is there any other characters that have clear connections to other pop culture icons?
Oh yeah,
absolutely. Victoria Moore is the mother. She becomes a mother figure to our two main characters, Nina and Josh Tresner. She is the sheriff of Blackburn, which is the town for the Stained that we were talking about earlier. She is she's a gunslinger, and she's also well educated and very proper. And she is kind of a homage to Annie Oakley. So that's where we took a lot of inspiration for her from her. Yeah, this is Dobby.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah. And I guess on that note, with Victoria, our only kind of casting decision with her as a character is we want a full-figured woman to play her. Victoria is not your Hollywood size zero ingenue type, and in the Victorian era, that wasn't quite, it was more desirable to have a little bit of curves and whatnot. So we really, with Clockwork, what we want to do is portray these characters that aren't within the realms of the norm.
Very few of our characters are actually like your typical idea of like Hollywood attractive.
Well, the thing is, like, people like their tropes, right? We often talk very negatively about stereotypes, but the thing with stereotypes is that they also work. So
Yeah.
is that something you have worked with? Like, okay, we need to include this trope for some reason. Was that anywhere in the process?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
We did a lot of research on kind of what types of character. You need your brave heroic character. You need your mentor type. You need the sidekick. You need the herald.
Rebellious teenager.
All those things are in there, but we put a little bit of a different spin on them. So we have a character in the pilot named Stanley, who is your kind of Matt Dillon, Walker, Texas Ranger, the main character in Westworld, kind of, wears a light colored cowboy hat, comes in and saves the day, but in the world with what they're dealing with, it takes more. It's the lone cowboy is not going to cut it in terms of what they have to accomplish. Sorry, we also have kids in there, being kids. But what we've done is we've kind of taken these archetypes and we put a different spin. So we have, like, later on, there's a character that is the kind of awesome, rebellious, rough and tumble cowboy type. Very characters very closely based off of, like, James Dean kind of personality, but he's Asian.
All right.
So we kind of have taken these things that are familiar in Hollywood and what makes a Western, and then how does that apply to steampunk, and then how can we put a different spin on it.
All right. Let me check the chats. A lot going on there, which is a great sign. Does seem pretty cool. Let's see. People talking about Rurouni Kenshin. Let's see. Sounds very interesting. Okay, great.
Cool.
Yes, and I'm curious to see how it turns out. All right. So don't forget to ask any questions if you have them. People in the chat, that is. Let's see. All right. So where to go here next? So you've already written. I thought I saw somewhere on Facebook you've written like 10 episodes for the first season. How many more seasons do you intend to complete?
So the 10 episodes that are written are actually, we wrote a pilot script for television, and then we ran into that classic roadblock that everybody does with the new television series, which is how do you come up with funding?
Right.
How do you get, you're not going to get funding without interest. So it's like, well, if we do a podcast, we don't have to worry about costumes, special effects, location. We can do those things with audio instead, and then build a fan base or build an interest that way. And so the pilot was broken up into 10 episodes.
Uh-huh.
So it's like, the idea is that the pilot is one chapter, or a 10 episode arc, and then we're planning on 8 to 12 of those chapters. Okay. And then about 5, and then you multiply that by 5, right? So it's going to be, 10. That's 120 episodes times 5. So it's going to be a pretty significant amount. We're hoping it'll go on for a number of years.
Okay. You already also mentioned you want to do event appearances. And it's also connected to a question in the chat. Are you guys planning on making any events where fans can join as background characters?
Yeah, that's a really good question, actually. So one of the things we also do is we're cosplayers, and we cosplay Marvel characters, pirate characters, Disney characters. We're part of a local cosplay thing called Treasure Valley Studios, and we don't want to not include Clockwork with that. So what we want to do is take the cast members that are, Nina and Jason and all these characters, and go to conventions in costume as them. And we want to make several interactive events where people can come in their steampunk costumes and participate in a story arc at the con. Like, instead of just doing a panel talking about it, we want to do like a live show where the audience participates and their choices and what they do directly tie in with the plot, and it'll be considered canon.
Ooh,
because
interesting.
we kind of think that's something that's lacking at cons. I mean, people go to conventions to interact with the characters that they feel a connection to. So why not bring them and involve them in that way?
All right. So you have already written the scripts. You are recruiting voice actors. So what else is right now in your plan? What are the next steps you're going to take?
Well, right now we're kind of taking it one step at a time, I think. So it's a lot. We are currently, Britt is currently finishing up editing the 10 podcasts, so they'll be ready to go when the 20th hits, which is our deadline for auditions. And then we'll get the ball rolling with that pretty quickly after that. And currently, we are working on writing the next chapter, which will be chapter 2, the next 10 episodes. And every time we do that, we introduce new characters. So every probably 3 to 4 months, we'll be running auditions again in order to fill those character voices.
All right, and you'll be posting those announcements on your Facebook page?
Yep.
Yes.
All right.
And it's called Clockwork Age of Steam. You can, if you search that, it should pop up. It's got the clock icon. Right now, it's just a free stock Shutterstock picture. We're hoping to get some.
So we need artists
Yeah, we do.
badly for concept character.
All right. Yeah, that was also a thing because you want to make costumed appearances. Do you already have the costumes done, or is that still all in the concept phase?
We all have our ideas of how we want our characters to look, but we haven't really bought much of anything yet. I think I have one piece. I have a necklace for my character. He has a scarf for Jason. And I think you're in the works of making the skirt.
I am having somebody make me a skirt for my particular character.
And yeah, we'll all be appearing as characters in the series as well. Mm-hmm. We're all actors as well, so we wanted to be involved in that way. None of us are going to be like the main character, but we will be supporting characters. Mm-hmm. Jason's spats came in the mail yesterday, and I was really excited, but I thought they looked too clean and new, so I have to dirty them up.
Go roll around in the backyard.
Yeah.
All right. Do you already have a voice for the main character, or is that still? Are you still doing auditions for those?
We are currently running auditions. Surprisingly, we haven't generated it so far anyway. We still got about 10 days or so before the deadline, but haven't gotten many auditions for Nina Tresner at 16 yet.
Right.
Or Josh Tresner at 18 yet, which is kind of interesting. But we've surprisingly gotten a whole lot of auditions for extras.
Yeah. And I'd say Victoria is probably our most popular character.
She's got the most for sure.
All right. Oh, interesting. But I can imagine it's hard because, you want someone to sound like genuinely 16 or 18.
Yes.
I can imagine that's rather hard to find.
Yes.
But you did get some additions or none at all?
We know that we have at least 2 who want to audition, and we're just waiting for them to come in. But we like our options.
All right. Well, let's see. We already covered a lot. Is there something else in particular you want to mention?
Just that what we're hoping to offer with this is a home for steampunk to live in. While it starts out in the West, we think, we have plans that they travel to Europe and other, so we get to see kind of the steampunk world in its actuality. The whole first season is about kind of building that world and kind of the darkness that they're facing. And, Wizarding World has Harry Potter, the zombie world has Walking Dead, sci-fi has Star Wars, and we want to offer Clockwork as that home base for steampunk. So we're really trying hard to represent all of what steampunk entails. Since we're writers, we're open to people, like if they want to message us, hey, I have this character that we want to be included in the story in some way or representative of. We're not closed off to ideas from people in terms of just maybe we want to try and do a good job of represent all the archetypes that are found in steampunk. So if we're missing one, feel free to share it with us. But so far, the response has been pretty good. Like, we've talked to friends and family and other people in the entertainment industry, and they've all been very like, either this is good, this is awesome, we like it, or hey, I had this idea for a steampunk character. Like, yeah, we already have that one in there, so probably a good sign.
All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about that, because I've talked about this in several of my videos as well, that one of the it's not really a bad thing, neither it's a good thing, it's kind of a neutral thing, but it does make the steampunk community special. And that's, there is no there is no idol or franchise right now that's dominating the steampunk scene. And that makes it rather difficult for new people to really get into steampunk. However, the benefit about that is that you really do get people that are invested in what they're doing. They're not just fans, they are actually making new steampunk. So there is no company who can say, oh, you're not allowed to do that. Or no people who can complain, oh, you cannot do that because that's not canon or something. So yeah, there are a lot of original ideas going around, a lot of fan-made series, and no company who can say, like they're doing now with, I think ABC has sued people who are making a fan film that also happen to be far more popular than their new Star Trek series that very few people seem to enjoy. So, and I also noticed that some other companies have done some really terrible things to their fans, even if it does not even... It doesn't even involve the material itself. It's for very petty reasons. So, what are your thoughts about steampunk not having a home, as you call it?
Well, the home of Clockwork is welcoming to everyone. We're all fans too. We've all, for better or worse, in this room, written fan fictions. Some are good, and some I'll hope none of you ever see. And we all cosplay. So Clockwork, and without giving away big plot details, later it'll make sense, is designed in such a way where if you have a steampunk character, or there's a certain way that you want Josh or Nina or Jason or Victoria or Cinder to be, it's canon. It's canon to us, and we welcome it. We're not going to tell you that you can't. That's not, because honestly, as an actor, as a working actor, people that come and watch the shows that I've been in pay for my kids' food. They pay for my rent. I'm not going to push you guys away ever. So this flagship series is one that's, our airship's big enough for everybody. And that's
All right.
kind of the way we look at it.
That's the heart of steampunk, anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. There are some comments. First off, a question. In what country does Clockwork take place?
It actually takes place in America first. It starts in the Pocatello region of Idaho.
Western Territory.
All right. And then it moves on to other areas?
And the second episode, they're actually going to Colorado territory. And then in future episodes, they'll be traveling over to St. Augustine, Florida. We're going to keep it centralized in America for now. As we said, we're building a world,
Right.
or the first season, which would be about the first 8 to 10 chapters of the podcast. And then we will venture out from there. And some of that is in order to build that world. Some of it's finances.
Right, I can imagine. All right. Let's see. There are some comments on the question I just asked. Glitchy Gear. Steampunk is an open and creative field, and I welcomely respect yet open creative freedom. Steampunk doesn't need a home, I think. We're all nomads. Yeah, those were it for now.
Yeah.
Go
Our
ahead.
characters are nomads as well. Effectively, they end up traveling on the airship on the Nautilus all over the world. So really, they're just symbols for what steampunk is.
Mm-hmm. So let's. What to you makes a steampunk character?
Oh, that's a
Difficult
good
question.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I know. That's why I'm asking it.
Well, that's a little bit of a complicated question because for the last 6 months, Clockwork has been steampunk for us personally.
Mhm.
Before Clockwork, steampunk to me was, as that one comment said, it was kind of nomadic. It was an opportunity to be creative with all kinds of different styles and personalities. And I know steampunk comes from all over the world, but it is kind of like the Wild West in a lot of ways, where it doesn't matter what race you are, it doesn't matter what shape you are, you can do steampunk, you can enjoy steampunk, dress steampunk. So that's kind of my view on it as an artist.
I think steampunk. What makes a steampunk character? Someone that uses their wits and technology of the time to better their life, whether it's survival, whether it's inventing something that will increase productivity, and whether and so a steampunk character is someone that these elements that are steampunk to make their lives better. And certainly a lot of our characters, if they didn't use steampunk, would straight up die in the world that they live in. I know that there's a few of them, in fact, that wouldn't even exist if steampunk wasn't a thing because of the stuff that they go through. How about you?
Oh, geez. Both of you pretty much summed it up really well. I don't think I have anything else to add to that.
All right. Yeah. I don't think you can answer this question. But what do you think? Well, maybe I can ask the question in the chat this way. What do you guys from Clockwork think about teaming up with Radio Retrofuture?
We were really excited.
Yeah.
About it. We were kind of like, I guess for me, I was like, this is a story that I've wanted to tell, but I wasn't sure if it would have interest. And just the fact that we were asked to pretty soon without even posting any video or any audio of anything that Clockwork is, other than our brief description and audition announcements was a pretty good sign that there's interest in this sort of thing. So I guess you inviting us to come onto your show encourages us to make Clockwork the best that it can be.
As far as partnering up, as you said, I don't think we can fairly answer that question right this second. We should probably discuss it as a creative team and get back to you very soon about that. But as of right now, we are very excited and honored to be a part of this. So thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And thank you for being on the show. So yeah, I didn't expect that question either, but there it is. Yeah, that's the fun thing about live shows. Let's see, what else? We covered a lot. Is there anything in oh, yeah, here's one. Where do you guys intend to publish your first episodes?
We are looking at Spotify right now. We will be making a Weebly account, a website account where we will post links to the podcasts, and we will be using Facebook as a platform to social network and Instagram as well. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Are you considering Discord?
Yeah. Now.
Yeah. Now we are. Yeah.
All right, so yeah, keep your eye open for that. But you were still talking, so please continue.
No, I was just saying I'll look more into how Discord actually runs, because I think that would be more my area of expertise.
Yeah.
I'm I don't know. I think I can figure it out.
All right. Well, if you run into problems, I can give you some things, some hints. And there are also some other people on my current Discord who can also help you with that. Awesome. So yeah, be free to use my server to post your own promotional material as well. Yeah. I think I'm pretty much running out of questions. Maybe a nice one is, what has been your biggest challenge till now, creating the show?
Our creative natures from the first fight Brandon and I ever had as a couple writing. We, for the most part, we're pretty synergetic. We're on the same page quite a bit. But every now and then we'll run into an issue where it's like, no, the mom should be abusive. No, the dad should be abusive. No, none of them should be abusive.
So do you have relationship therapy for that now, or?
Oh no, but it's honestly been an amazing for our relationship, for the three of us having this project as well.
It's been taking over our life pretty much. We have a text chat between the three of us on our phones, and I'll go into work where I can't use my phone. I'll come out after like 2 hours. There's 300 messages just about Clockwork. And I have to sift through it all, because if I don't, I'll come home and they'll be like, oh, we made a big decision about this character or this thing. And I'm like, I'm not reading 300 messages.
Yeah, we had to scrap your character out of the show. Fake. Oops.
The other issue is probably a little bit more relatable, in the sense that we all have work schedules, and kids and pets, and we're all trying to work on a relationship as well. So from time to time, it can be a bit of a challenge to sit down and actually create and write and come up with these ideas. We've red-penned our work quite a bit.
You've been saying frequently, Kat, that my desk has been your workspace. She has been, I don't know if it's bragging or complaining or a little bit of both, about how she spends 40 hours at my desk just typing up and revising. A lot of time.
I have a job that allows me to write at work pretty frequently. So I'll go to work, be working my day job, sitting there writing Clockwork. I'll come home, get it all transferred onto the computer, and then sit there and edit and then write more. It's honestly, I probably since August have been working on Clockwork at least 30 to 50 hours a week, continuously since August. So time management can sometimes be a big struggle too.
On the flip side, having a team helps, because if one of us gets burnt out, the other one can take the reins and kind of keep it going while one of us takes a break. So I think it would be impossible to do steampunkist due diligence with a series like this with one individual. It's just a lot to take on. Having three of us helps. And then we have outside mentor, Crit Killen, who's worked on like Back to the Future and other scripts, is one of our script supervisors, and we send it off to him. And different filmmakers and podcast creators have been kind of on the sidelines cheering us on. So I don't think it would be possible as one person anyway.
We found so many ideas off of each other for our own individual characters that we've helped grow each other's characters too, and given each other ideas. Like for my character Cinder, I had a backstory for her, and then when Kat came along, she gave me all these ideas for like, oh, what if Cinder did this? What if she did this? And
don't know spoilers.
No, I'm not spoilers.
Scared me that first.
No. What if she did this or this? And it's been very like, oh, I didn't even think about that. So we've been helping. This is one of our children.
Hello.
Sorry. Because Brandon leaves the children huddle in. Right. Yeah, it would be pretty much impossible for our specific story if it was just one of us.
All right. Let's. I had a question and now I forgot. Yeah. Okay, but did we discuss everything you wanted to discuss at this point?
At this point, probably the only I would like to just quickly add is that we will be starting the process of recording our teaser podcast for the series today, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, because we got a new microphone in the mail.
Yeah, we did, and
just
pop
last
filter. It's all fancy.
And after this, you and Brandon are going to the store and getting stuff to make a portable sound booth, so we can start recording that today.
All right. I remember what I wanted to ask. You mentioned that you're also actors. Could you give a quick overview of what kind of roles you usually play and what kind of series?
Well, Brandon has been an actor for pretty much all of his life. Right now, locally in Treasure Valley here in Idaho, he has been pretty well known for his portrayal of Captain Jack Sparrow and Star-Lord from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, okay.
Hey.
I personally am not an actor myself, but I have done a little bit of voice acting work. I took a class, I think, 2 semesters ago at Boise State University that kind of got me into the whole idea of recording and writing for radio. Pretty much was really helpful. But I personally have never acted myself. I'm too shy.
As for me, I've been kind of acting on and off throughout life, but I got really, really into it the last year or two. And my biggest roles, I would say, have been Nebula from Guardians of the Galaxy.
As a live show.
A live show.
You wrote our live show, too.
Yeah, the live show that Brandon and I wrote together. And Black Cat from the Spider-Verse. Have been probably my biggest roles. I also play an original pirate named Kato.
All right. Well, usually I like to end my shows on some words of wisdom you would like to share. So maybe of you wants to end this conversation on that.
I guess they're looking at me, so I guess I'm gonna say something.
Well, you left. It's your turn to talk.
Having a character like Jason, who I had started writing when I was 14, my advice to anybody is if you have an idea, just do it, write it. Not to be cliche with like Shia LaBeouf, just do it. But really, if you want to make a series, if that's your dream, do it, write it. The worst thing that'll happen is people will give you advice. They'll give you notes, and you'll take them or leave them and make it better.
Right.
That's really the only thing bad. There's no bad. Failure is a lesson in disguise, as they say. So just write it.
Yeah.
If you want to be an actor, audition. If you want to cosplay, if you haven't even maybe cosplayed yet, just make your costume and go out there, get your steampunk stuff on, and just go to the con. Because if you don't do it, I think regret is always going to feel worse than failure.
All right, thank you. Well, somebody in the chat says, "Don't let your dreams be dreams. Just do it."
Yeah, that's right.
Or as
Make
I
your
like to
dreams
say,
come
dare to
true.
fail. So yeah. So could you give a quick overview of where people can find you?
Mostly on Facebook right now. That's our main one. We're working on expanding to different social media platforms, like we said earlier. But right now, we're mostly just on Facebook.
Yeah, we want to go on Instagram, but we need artists so that we can,
We
have
need
pictures
artists
to
and
go
more
on
voice
Instagram.
actors.
Yes.
More creative people.
As for Facebook, you can find us on facebook.com/thesteamage. And that is our business page for the time being.
All right, thank you. Well, thank you so much for taking the time of your day for being here, and good luck with your recordings today. That is what you're going to do, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and ladies and gentlemen, for those in the chat, thank you all for all your input. It always it makes the show so much better when you are participating. And of course, as always, ladies and gentlemen, new video will be up very shortly. I just made a new video today on Mortal Engines and the reasons why it might have failed the way it did. And so many.
Yeah, we have some thoughts on that as well.
Yeah. Well, if you are interested, I also like to have discussions on my channel. So if you want, you are more than free to join me in a discussion on that topic some other time. For the people who are watching, don't forget you can also pitch any ideas to us about what kinds of videos and discussions you want to see on our channel. And of course, you can also join our Discord. Link is in the description, where you can contact me and anyone else active on there. So, well, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna wish you a wonderful day. And as always, make it your way.